Hello everybody, today we're going to be doing a Shattered Pixel Dungeon ring guide. I'm going to be going over general facts about every ring, how to identify them early, when to use them, what rings are the most powerful on each character, and what rings you should be really looking for in your runs, and what's worth it, what's not worth it. I'm looking at this from a 0 challenge to 3 challenge perspective, so this is not the end-all be-all guide of, this is the absolute ring that will win you 9 challenge or anything. This is for the general player. If you're just want some more general information about rings in general, then this is the video for you. A lot of tips and stuff we'll go over are helpful in any run, no matter how many challenges you're playing. But we're going to go through it in order of what it's showing in the journal here, and we're going to put them on a tier list as we go. And I'll kind of save the opinionated discussions for the end. The first part of this video is going to be more factual information and general tips and usage guidelines and stuff like that. So before we get started, I want you to please like and subscribe. We stream Shattered Pixel Dungeon Monday through Friday on this channel, so go ahead and get subscribed and come check us out live. And without further ado, we're just going to go through the rings in the order that they are listed in the journal in the game. So starting off, we have the Ring of Accuracy. The Ring of Accuracy is kind of a middle of the road ring. This is not a ring that's going to make or break your build. This is not a ring that you're going to build around or that you're going to put upgrade scrolls onto. But I think that the Ring of Accuracy does have a few niches where it's like, okay, like if you have a low accuracy weapon like the sickle or the flail or something like that, it can help like even out some of the turbulence of using a lower accuracy ring. It's also nice to know that you have a much higher chance of landing your melee strikes when it really counts. Like if you're playing FEMA and you don't have a lot of good ranged options, the Ring of Accuracy is it's good insurance for making sure that you land those melee hits when you need to. You can see I've upgraded the ring a total of 8 times, and most of the time I upgrade the Ring of Accuracy as a meme. So I wouldn't recommend, getting the Ring of Accuracy and dumping it, but you can do you. You can win the game in a lot of different ways, and Ring of Accuracy is not exactly the most powerful way to win the game, but it will get you somewhere. Yeah, there is a way to identify the Ring of Accuracy before it's actually identified. If you equip it and you attack an enemy, if the Ring of Accuracy does have an effect on that enemy, it will pop up next to the damage number. There'll be a little icon that pops up next to the damage number with the Ring of Accuracy symbol. So there is a way to identify the ring early, which is good for helping you understand when to use the upgrade scrolls. So it's like, if you love Ring of Accuracy and you get it, you see that icon pop up, ooh, you can start dumping that thing right away. Or you can see, oh, it's Ring of Accuracy, I'll put my other ring back on, or I'll equip this artifact instead. So the Ring of Accuracy, not the best ring. Not the ring that's going to make or break your run. So we're going to go ahead and put it on the tier list right now. We're going to put that in the slot filler category. So the Ring of Accuracy, the only time you really want to equip the Ring of Accuracy is when you have nothing else. That's what I mean by slot filler. And I'll go over the tier list as we put rings in those tiers. So we have Dump Now at the very top. That's S tier. Those are rings that you can pretty safely dump upgrades into. Just put all your upgrade scrolls into it and it will carry your run. Underneath that, we have Build Around It, which is this ring is going to be a core part of your build. Most of the time, your wands, your equipment, your weapon, that's what's going to be a core part of your build. But there are some rings that fall into that category as well. Below that, we have Nice to Have, rings that are good for temporary purposes, like Ring of Might. I'll get into that later. Or rings that you don't mind having around. You might keep them equipped till the end of the game. And then we have slot fillers, which are only rings that you wear because you have nothing else. And then we have the Don't Bother category, which only a few rings fall into. So I think that pretty much covers everything with Ring of Accuracy. So we're going to move on to the next ring, which is Ring of Arcana. Ring of Arcana increases the amount of times that your glyph on your armor or your enchantment on your weapon procs. So that means you're going to get more effectiveness out of curses, glyphs, and enchantments on your weapon. And this can be a very powerful ring depending on what your weapon is enchanted with. So just the other day, we were doing a Huntress run and we had Projecting on our bow. Projecting allows you to shoot through walls, shoot through enemies, and it basically gives you wireless damage. And the Ring of Arcana can increase the effectiveness of things like Projecting, Vampirism, and several other like enchantments or glyphs on your armor. I think that Ring of Accuracy can be really powerful, but at the end of the day, it really depends on what enchantments and what glyphs you're running. So one of the really cool interactions is like, say you have augmentation of, or sorry, the glyph of stone on your armor, which reduces your chances to dodge to 0, but increases your defense proportionally. So you can have your armor augmented for evasion, and then the glyph of stone on your armor, and then you put an upgraded Ring of Arcana into the mix, and your defense goes crazy. I've played with the challenge of Faith is my armor, where it reduces the armor scaling, so you basically have no armor. And with the Ring of Arcana, the glyph of stone, and the evasion augmentation, all three of those things together combined to made it so I was only taking around 5 damage from melee attacks in the demon halls, and that's with Faith as my armor is on. So that is just one use case of Ring of Arcana. It really depends, though. It's super situational. I would say, though, that this ring is a build around it kind of ring. So if you get a pre-upgraded Ring of Arcana, you can very safely build around Ring of Arcana, and maybe you use some upgrade scrolls to get Stone of Enchantment, or you re-roll your glyph to get the perfect one on your armor, then it can be very powerful. I would say that this ring is very valuable to find, but conversely, it is also kind of a little bit useless towards the beginning of the game because you probably won't have enchantments on your armor or your weapon, so your mileage may vary with the Ring of Arcana, but like I said, depending on what glyph you have on your armor, it can be super powerful. And also, sorry, I did not mention the Ring of Arcana. There is almost no way to identify it before it's actually ID'd on your character. You can tell the difference. Like, say if you have projecting, if it goes more than 1 tile away, then you know it's Arcana. Or if like you have swiftness on your armor and you're getting more movement speed, there are certain ways to tell depending on what glyphs you have. But otherwise, it's pretty hard to tell what a Ring of Arcana is before you identify it. Ring of Elements. Okay, so this one, I think that this ring is almost useless in every run. It reduces the damage that you take from magical attacks, elemental and magical attacks. So early on, when this ring is unidentified, it is really hard to identify it. I believe the first enemies that you can really easily identify it with are like warlocks in the metros. So if like a warlock shoots you and you take less than 10 damage, it's safe to say that you probably have a Ring of Elements on. But the Ring of Elements just reduces damage, and I think that most things in this game that require you to take damage to get use out of them are probably not the best thing to be using. So I'm going to put the Ring of Elements in the Don't Bother tier. Don't Bother and Slot Filler are kind of the same thing. But I would prioritize the Ring of Accuracy over the Ring of Elements. Like if I had to choose between an unupgraded Ring of Accuracy and an unupgraded Ring of Elements, I'm going to choose Accuracy 100% of the time. The Ring of Elements, though, can be good in certain situations. Like once you get to the Demon Halls, there's a lot more magic attack enemies, like the Demon Eye Gaze or Yogg's Laser. Like say you get a +4 Ring of Elements, I would equip that over like a +2 Ring of Accuracy for the Yogg fight, just so that I take less damage from some of those additional enemies that it will spawn. But the Ring of Elements is kind of a don't bother type ring. It's not going to make or break your build or anything. And there's good chunks of the game where it almost does nothing. Like in the sewers and the prisons, there's not very many enemies that are dealing that magical damage to you, so you're not going to get a lot of value out of it. Ring of Energy. Now, I love Ring of Energy. What it does is it increases the rate at which your artifacts and your wands recharge. So the Ring of Energy is extremely powerful, especially on characters like the mage with the staff, or I always call him priest, but the cleric. The cleric's book will recharge faster with this Ring of Energy. I think that the Ring of Energy is a dump now ring on most characters in most situations. Now, it does not work with duelists and duelist weapon abilities, but it is still, if wands are your main source of damage, it's a really good value. It does decrease some things like Desperate Power or Backup Barrier on Mage. Those are both talents that require you to have 1 charge on your wand to use your last charge, but it makes it a bit harder. You have to spam your wands way more than you probably would if you weren't trying to utilize that. But hopefully by the time that you get those talents, the Ring of Energy is already in play. But the Ring of Energy, I think, is a super powerful ring. I've won many runs with the Ring of Energy. I think that it's one of the best rings in the game, and it's one of the few rings that you can pretty much safely dump on most characters in most situations. It can really be something you build your kit around. Has a lot of synergies. Like for example, if you have Blood Chalice, Ring of Energy actually increases the regeneration you get from Blood Chalice, and it increases the recharge rate of all artifacts, in fact. So that's extremely powerful on its own. Whether it's Cleric's Book, or your Blood Chalice, your Timekeeper's Hourglass, your Unstable Spellbook, like literally everything benefits from it. So there are so many things in the game that benefit from the Ring of Energy. It's kind of a no-brainer to use. But at the same time, there are some characters that it's kind of useless on, like Warrior. He doesn't really have any wand synergy, but or things that recharge from Ring of Energy, so it's less useful on him. But say you're on a Warrior run and you have Wand of Corrosion and you want to be able to cast it more, it's a really good option. I would highly recommend giving the Ring of Energy a try if you haven't before. The Ring of Energy is pretty hard to identify before it's identified. So there are ways to do it. You can kind of count the number of turns it takes for your wand to recharge, and then put the Ring of Energy on and then count again. But by the time you get through a few charges of the Ring of Energy, a few kills with the Ring of Energy on, it's probably going to identify itself anyway. So you don't have to worry too much about identifying it beforehand. But it's pretty hard to identify. I wouldn't recommend going out of your way to try to identify it before you hit the scroll of ID or naturally identify it. But it is an extremely powerful ring. The Ring of Energy is one of my favorites, and you should not be sleeping on the Ring of Energy. All right, so let's go ahead. Next up is Ring of Evasion. Now, Ring of Evasion, I would say, is similar to Accuracy, but in reverse. Ring of Evasion increases the chances of dodging an enemy attack. I think Ring of Evasion can be good, but it's something that requires you to get hit to get the benefit from. So getting hit in the first place is not an ideal situation. That's not something you want to be doing. You can identify the Ring of Evasion by if a monster attacks you and the Ring of Evasion causes you to dodge that attack, there will be an icon associated with that dodge. So you can identify the Ring of Evasion before it's identified naturally. So that's one of the plus sides of Ring of Evasion. It's one of those rings you can know, you know. The whole point to identifying a ring before it's actually identified is to better know how to spend your upgrade scrolls. Because there are some situations where, you know, I have an upgrade scroll and I really want to use it, but my ring's not identified. I want to see what that ring is, you know what I mean? Maybe it is a Ring of Energy. Who knows? And I'm going to save my upgrade scroll for that. But I see that little icon pop up. I'm like, oh, it's Ring of Evasion? Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and put the upgrade on my armor or my weapon or whatever. So the Ring of Evasion, I would say that the Ring of Evasion is another slot filler ring. I would equip almost every other ring instead of the Ring of Evasion. I don't think that the Ring of Evasion is super necessary in any run, but you can do things like augment your armor for evasion and then have an upgraded Ring of Evasion and almost nothing is hitting you. But at the same time, when those hits do come through, it can be pretty devastating, especially if you're playing on Faith is My Armor, which reduces armor scaling like I mentioned earlier. That's can be a pretty dangerous situation. Most things in this game that require getting hit to get the benefit from them aren't as good as the things that just provide you the benefit all the time. All right, so let's go on to the next one, Ring of Force. Ring of Force is really fun. You can see I've upgraded this a whole total of 117 times. So Ring of Force is kind of funny. It's a very powerful ring, but it does come with trade-offs. So the Ring of Force increases the weapon damage if you have a weapon equipped, or it has its own damage scaling if you do not equip a weapon. If you don't equip the weapon, you do get that better damage scaling, but at the same time, you miss out on having an enchantment on your weapon, because you cannot enchant the Ring of Force. So the Ring of Force is pretty good. The way to identify it, there's two ways to identify the Ring of Force. Let's say that your weapon does 5 to 10 damage, and then you equip the Ring of Force, and then you see your weapon do 12 damage on an attack that should have been capped out at 10. You know, okay, well, it did 12 damage. I'm pretty sure that I have a Ring of Force on. But also, if you're playing Duelist, the Ring of Force has a special thing called Brawler Stance. It has a whole special mechanic with Duelist, because it lets you use your weapon abilities and your weapon enchantment while using the Ring of Force. So you get the benefit of the extra damage from the Ring of Force at the same time as being able to use your weapon abilities. And you can access this Brawler Stance whether the ring is identified or not. And the really cool thing about Brawler Stance is that it's instant. So if you have to do melee damage to an enemy, you can activate Brawler Stance, fight that enemy, and then turn off Brawler Stance instantly, no turn requirement, and then get back to the normal rate of weapon recharge. So the Ring of Force is pretty powerful. I would say the Ring of Force is build around it to nice to have tier, depending on what character you're playing. If you don't find a weapon before the Ring of Force, it's a good option to upgrade and use as your weapon. One of the downsides, like I mentioned, is not being able to use weapon enchantments because you can't enchant a ring, but also it has pretty low accuracy. You would think, you know, hitting something with your actual hands, you'd be a little more accurate than like at like a big weapon or something, but you know, it's a video game, it's not real life. But the Ring of Force, I've upgraded 117 times, so it's very viable as your main source of damage. But there are those trade-offs. I would say that the Ring of Force is pretty strong, and it is a lot of fun, especially on Duelist. But Ring of Force, can't go wrong with it. It can be your end game weapon. You find it in the series, and you can use it for the rest of the game. But, you know, there is, like, say you have Ring of Arcana in the other slot, you're missing out on basically 50% of the value of Ring of Arcana because you don't have an enchantment on your weapon. Unless you're a Brawler Stance on Duelist. That's a really good option. But Ring of Force, one of my favorite rings. Do not sleep on this ring. All right, let's go on to the next ring. Ring of Furor. Ring of Furor is, I would say, right off the bat, we're going to call this a nice-to-have ring. Oh, whoops. Ring of Furor is not going to make or break any run, in my opinion. And I feel the Ring of Furor has some pretty great diminishing returns. Now, there are some cool things you can do with Ring of Furor if you upgrade it a bunch of times. You can actually get multiple surprise attacks on an enemy because you can attack, you know, around 2 to 3 times per turn, and that can be really good, especially when you pair it with something like the Sai, which already attacks twice per turn. You can get, you know, 4, 5, 6 attacks per turn. You walk through that door, and then the enemy comes through the door, and you boom, 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 hit him with all those guaranteed hit surprise attacks. But at the end of the day, the Ring of Furor, I feel like the diminishing returns are too high on it. You have to upgrade it pretty high to get a normal weapon to be able to do more than 2 attacks on an enemy per turn. And at that point, your upgrades are better spent somewhere else. There is a trick to identifying this weapon, though, or this ring. When you attack with a Ring of Furor, your turn wheel will be partial. So if you have an unidentified ring on and you want to know if it's Ring of Furor, go ahead and attack an enemy and look at your turn wheel. If you attack an enemy with a weapon that takes 1 turn, like most of the weapons in the game, you know, like your dirk, your short sword, your quarterstaff, if your turn wheel is partial after that attack, you can pretty safely know, okay, that's Ring of Furor. But otherwise, Ring of Furor, it's not going to be anybody's winning element in a run. I have tried meme builds with the Ring of Furor where I put all my upgrades into it, and I have Sai augmented for speed, I have Ring of Furor plus 10 or whatever, and I'm still only getting 3 or 4 attacks per turn. I don't really think that's worth it. I'd rather just put those upgrades into a weapon and kill the enemy in 1 hit instead of killing the enemy in 3 hits in 1 turn. It's a lot safer to give the enemy less chance to attack you. Alright, so next up is the Ring of Haste, my freaking GOAT, dude. I've upgraded this ring a total of 142 times. The Ring of Haste is, I would say that the Ring of Haste is a really build around it type ring. Now, in the past, I would dump this ring, but I do not think that is as necessary. Once you get down to it and you really understand how the enemies move in this game, about anywhere from +2 to +4 on the Ring of Haste is perfect. My sweet spot is +3. +3 gives you enough movement speed to really maneuver around basically any attack in the game. Ring of Haste makes it so your movements take less turns to complete. Usually moving 1 tile takes 1 turn, but you can move 2, 3, 4 tiles in a turn with the Ring of Haste. And that puts you out of range from a lot of melee attacking enemies. Say a ranged enemy catches you from across the room, you can go ahead and pretty much run away from it and only take a couple hits instead of 1 hit per turn. The Ring of Haste is a very powerful ring. Most of my 9 challenge wins, I have Ring of Haste on. So if you get Ring of Haste, I would highly recommend upgrading it to +3 It, like I said earlier, it really lets you maneuver around almost every enemy attack in the game. There are a few enemies that are good at countering it, like ranged enemies and succubuses, but once you learn how their AI works and the best way to maneuver around them, then the Ring of Haste really makes that much easier. You can identify the Ring of Haste before it's identified by looking at your turn wheel. I put a ring on and I move once and I see that turn wheel, it goes from 0 to 0. And I know, okay, it's not Ring of Haste. But if you move a little bit, if you move one tile and you have a partial turn wheel, then you know, okay, this is probably Ring of Haste. Don't get fooled though, because sometimes you'll have Armor of Swiftness on and you'll think that, oh, hey, that's the Ring of Haste, but no, it's just Swiftness on your armor. But Ring of Haste, very, very powerful ring. And if you upgrade it really high, if you do end up dumping it, you can just run through levels and no enemy will even have a chance of touching you. But I would say +3 Ring of Haste is really, really, really powerful. And pretty much there are very few things that are better in that slot than a +3 Ring of Haste. Ring of Haste, my go, I love you. All right, Ring of Might. Ring of Might is definitely a nice to have ring. I would call that a nice to have ring because it lets you, what Ring of Might does is it increases your strength stat based on its level. So a +0 Ring of Might gives you 1 additional strength, and then every upgrade that you put on it after that gives you more strength. So if you get the +1 Ring of Might early on, that gives you 2 extra strength. That lets you equip armor and weapons from a tier above where you should be right now, and that can be very powerful. So like being able to equip leather armor the second you find it, even if you have no strength, even if you haven't found a strength potion, that's extremely powerful and it helps you survive. But at the end of the day, you don't need this ring. You don't need to keep this ring. The extra damage scaling you get, the extra damage and health you get from strength, it's not super worth it. It's not going to make or break any run. So you can pretty much, you know, upgrade it once or twice, get that +2, so you can equip higher tier weapons and armor early, and then at the end of the game you can transmute it into something that might be more useful. But the Ring of Might, the easiest way to check for Ring of Might before it's identified is just simply opening your stat screen, and it will say, you know, you have 10 strength +1. So whether or not that ring is identified, it will reflect the extra strength in your stat screen when you have the Ring of Might equipped. So I think that it's a good option for early game. You know, like I said, getting that armor and those weapons equipped earlier helps a lot, more than you would think. But I would say that the extra damage scaling from strength and the extra HP you get from it, not super worth it. It's not going to save your life. It's not going to kill an enemy faster. It might, but those chances are very slim. I just simply use it to equip things earlier, and that is the best case scenario for the Ring of Might, and it's still a pretty good option to have, and you can always transmute it down the line later, but it just depends. All right, moving on, we have the best ring ever, Ring of Sharpshooting. So what Ring of Sharpshooting does is it increases your thrown weapons as if they were plus level. So upgrading the Ring of Sharpshooting is as good as upgrading every single throwing weapon in your bag. So if you have a lot of throwing weapons in your bag, it's always best to upgrade the Ring of Sharpshooting than it is to upgrade the throwing weapons. The only time you would upgrade the throwing weapons themselves is if you want to increase their durability or repair them. But pretty much every upgrade is better spent on the Ring of Sharpshooting. We're going to put the Ring of Sharpshooting in the dump now category. Obviously, if you don't have throwing weapons in your inventory, then the Ring of Sharpshooting is basically useless. But if you're Huntress, having the Ring of Sharpshooting increases your bow damage, and that's so insane. It's so good to have extra damage on your bow. And then having the Ring of Sharpshooting for throwing weapons in general is really strong. You can safely deal damage from enemies from a distance. Makes it way better than any weapon, because a lot of ranged weapons have either low damage like the whip, low accuracy like the whip, or they take multiple turns to attack like the glaive, which is pretty dangerous, especially with Faith is my armor on. But the Ring of Sharpshooting is an extremely powerful ring for most characters. I mean, every character can use throwing weapons, but as far as synergies go for throwing weapons, you know, obviously your character makes a difference because there's certain talents that will be better or worse. You know, Warrior does not have a lot of throwing weapon synergy. Duelist has a little bit. Huntress obviously has the most. So your mileage will vary on how useful the Ring of Sharpshooting will be on your run. But if you're Huntress, man, forget everything else. The Ring of Sharpshooting will win you the game. But it's very good. It also increases their durability of throwing weapons. So you can hit that threshold for infinite durability on throwing weapons. If you didn't know, if you upgrade the Ring of Sharpshooting or throwing weapons enough, they become effectively unlimited uses. So it gets you to pass to that threshold a lot faster. The Ring of Sharpshooting is one of my favorites. A good way to identify the Ring of Sharpshooting is to check your throwing weapon damage. Like, for example, the Duelist Spike does 2 to 5 damage without the Ring of Sharpshooting. And if you equip the Ring of Sharpshooting, it will reflect the damage. So if you examine it again after equipping the Ring of Sharpshooting, it will say like 3 to 7 damage or something, for example. So there is a way to check if you have Ring of Sharpshooting equipped before it's identified. All right, next up, everyone's favorite ring, the Ring of Tenacity. Let's go. We all love Ring of Tenacity. Yes. All right, Ring of Tenacity. I'm going to go ahead and throw it right up there. Don't bother. The Ring of Tenacity is actually trash. I actually fucking hate the Ring of Tenacity. Enough said. That's enough said. No, but in all actuality, like I mentioned several times before this, anything that requires you to take damage is not as good as something that does not require you to take damage, right? So I think that the Ring of Tenacity can be good. I have done runs where I've dumped the Ring of Tenacity and been pretty successful with it. But what it does is it reduces the damage you take when you're at low health. The lower your health is, the more damage reduction it will do, I believe. But honestly, I think that it is not worth it in any scenario to upgrade the Ring of Tenacity. It's kind of a meme at this point. You know, it's better than having an empty slot. I wouldn't say, you know, don't even bother equipping it, but the Ring of Tenacity doesn't serve much of a purpose. I think that the main thing that rings like Tenacity and Elements do, you have to have crappy items to make the good items even better. You know what I mean? Because if the Ring of Tenacity and the Ring of Elements, Accuracy and Evasion, if they weren't in the game, then every ring you're finding is like the best ring in the game. So there's got to be some that are less good to balance out the really good ones, and that's a little game design trick for you, a little thing that you might have noticed in games in the past. But yeah, so Ring of Tenacity, kind of a pointless ring. We kind of don't care about Ring of Tenacity, but it is a funny meme. But other than that, you know, there's no reason to upgrade this ring. Ambitious Imp gives you the Ring of Tenacity in the metros, and it's like a +2 Ring of Tenacity. Just boom, backhand his ass, dude, because that ring is freaking useless. Don't even uncurse it, just sell it right back to his ass, dude. Yep, Ring of Tenacity. Fuck you, Ring of Tenacity. You hate you, Ring of Tenacity. All right, and last but not least, the Ring of Wealth. We love the Ring of Wealth. We actually do love the Ring of Wealth. So what this does is it increases your luck. It increases the chance for enemies to drop things, and it also creates a whole new loot pool for each enemy. So let's say like Cave Spinners. Cave Spinners only drop one thing, and that's Mystery Meat. But with the Ring of Wealth, they get access to a whole new drop, like loot pool. So the Ring of Wealth not only increases the natural drops of enemies, but also adds a whole new loot pool to each enemy, each biome, each area. And rather infamously, you can Ring of Wealth farm. So if you upgrade the Ring of Wealth to +10, everything that drops from the Ring of Wealth will be +5. It will be half of the ring's level. So if you have a +10 Ring of Wealth, you can get +5 drops from it. So like, let's say an enemy drops some scale armor and it's got the little gold particle effects around it. The Ring of Wealth will ensure that that item is upgraded. So the way to test the Ring of Wealth before you identify it is if an enemy drops something they should not have dropped, or if there's a little particle effect behind the drop. The particle effect looks like the Hostile Champions effect. We are doing a several week-long Ring of Wealth farm, so if you want to see a Ring of Wealth farm in general and live in action, then join us on stream. But Ring of Wealth farm is very powerful, but you can get so powerful with the Ring of Wealth farm that it doesn't even matter. For the majority of runs you find Ring of Wealth on, it is definitely a nice to have, because it just simply drops more items, it drops more money. If you get a +1 Ring of Wealth, you don't have to do anything. Just play the game normally, and you'll have more than enough money to buy everything from the shop. So yeah, I kind of got sidetracked when I was talking about identifying the Ring of Wealth, but the Ring of Wealth, when you identify it, before it's identified, Like a really good way is, like I said, if an enemy drops something they shouldn't have. Rats, for example, marsupial rats have no drop table. They do not drop anything. But if you have a Ring of Wealth on, there's a chance that a rat could drop money, or like a bomb, or a scroll or something. So if a rat does end up dropping something other than nothing, then you know that that's a Ring of Wealth you have equipped. But yeah, the Ring of Wealth is super fun, super useful, and it's actually a really good like side tertiary ring to have. I think that the Ring of Wealth definitely solves money. That's the number one thing it does, is it gives you a lot more money, so that when you do hit that shop, you have enough money to buy everything. You don't have to, you know, buy the bag and the unk and then come back for the other things you want. You can buy it all in one go, depending on when you found the ring, obviously. If you find it on floor 19, then you're gonna have to farm for a little bit, or you're gonna have to come back to the shop anyway. But if you find it early on in a biome, it will really solve your money issues. But I would say that the extra drops from it are extremely useful as well. Even if they drop something useless, like an unstable spell, or unstable brew, or just like a random scroll, that, even if you're not going to use it for its purpose, that is extra energy in the alchemy pot. That's an extra little bit of gold that will push you over the edge to buy that extra thing from the shop or whatever. So the Ring of Wealth is definitely a good pickup. It's not bad to have, I would say. But also, if you are going to do a Ring of Wealth farm, your entire run needs to be built around that, because the more upgrade scrolls you put into the Ring of Wealth, the higher upgraded items it will drop. And I will do a dedicated Ring of Wealth video one day. But right now, I am running a Ring of Wealth farm. It's really funny. Come by the stream and see it. But we're going to run this Ring of Wealth farm until we have 1,000 rations, until we have 1,000,000 gold, until we have hundreds of every scroll. So the Ring of Wealth really opens the door to some crazy shenanigans. But at the end of the day, it's just a gimmick. It's just a little extra gold here and there, maybe an extra scroll or something. Whenever I find a Ring of Wealth and I'm not doing a Ring of Wealth run, I say, oh, I'm just going to be normal about this. You know, I'm not going to go crazy and dump everything I have into the Ring of Wealth. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. So we'll go over, in conclusion, we'll just go over our little tier list over here. So the dump now tier. The Ring of Energy is a dump now for Mage and Cleric. Guaranteed, Mage and Cleric, dump now, excellent. It increases the charge rate of your wands and your artifacts. It does not work on duelists, unfortunately. That's sad. I just learned that. But also, I think that it can be useful for any character depending on where your main source of damage comes from. If your main source of damage is wands, go for it. If your main source of damage, or like healing, or, you know, say you have the ethereal chains and that's getting you out of a lot of tight situations, the Ring of Energy is going to make that recharge faster. If you have Chalice of Blood, it's going to increase the regeneration from that and let you tank a lot more hits. There are so many situations, like every single one of these artifacts has benefit from the Ring of Energy. Every single wand is going to benefit from the Ring of Energy. So there are so many other things in the game that benefit from Ring of Energy. It is a very, very, very powerful ring. And then Ring of Sharpshooting, similar situation. All these thrown weapons are going to benefit from the Ring of Energy, or sorry, the Ring of Sharpshooting, as well as Huntress's Spirit Bow. Where even is that? Oh well, doesn't matter. But thrown weapons are extremely powerful in this game, especially if you play on higher challenges. I know this video is about 0 to low challenge runs, but the earlier you start adopting throwing weapons into your playstyle, the better at the game you will be eventually, because in higher challenge runs, melee is almost not even an option. So anything that increases the damage you can deal from a safe distance is going to be extremely powerful in this game. And then Ring of Arcana, we have that in the build around it tier, and that really comes down, comes down to your glyph or your curse, and then your enchantment or your curse. There are some curses that do benefit from it, like let's say polarized. It either deals 0 damage or 50% more damage. And if you get the Ring of Arcana up high enough, it will straight up just deal 50% more damage all of the time. So that is a good, interesting case. There are a few things where Ring of Arcana doesn't help, like if you have Brimstone on your armor, for example, Glyph of Brimstone, it just protects you from fire damage. It's not like you can get more immune to fire damage, but things like swiftness, it's going to increase your movement speed when you're out of combat. Obfuscation, it's going to make it harder, even harder for enemies to detect you. You can walk right by. Silent steps plus, you know. Viscosity, it's going to increase the amount of damage viscosity will hold for you. So if you have ways to clear debuffs like cleanse or meditate on monk, having Arcana and viscosity makes it a little better, even though viscosity sucks. I hate viscosity. Potential, not a great enchantment, but anything that requires you to get hit is not, you know, the best, especially in higher challenge situations. But Arcana does so much for you. One standout is kinetic enchantment. Kinetic stores damage when you kill enemies. So like say an enemy has 10 health and you do 20 damage, that extra 10 damage that you would have done to that enemy is saved for the next hit. And Ring of Arcana increases the amount of damage that's saved for the next hit. I've hit 1,000. I've hit for 1,000 using like a kinetic runic blade on a duelist, for example. That shit's crazy. So Arcana, here and there, you know, it can be a make or break. It's definitely something you kind of have to build around, but it is not, you know, on its own. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna dump the shit out of this ring right now. But yeah, and then we're gonna go with the Ring of Force. The Ring of Force has some trade-offs. So the cons to the Ring of Force is you don't get a weapon enchantment, and you don't have high accuracy, and you have pretty low accuracy with the Ring of Force. Otherwise, the damage scaling for the tier it technically occupies is pretty high. You can do some serious damage with it, but you're gonna miss more often, and you miss out on having an enchantment. Although with the Duelist in particular, the Ring of Force definitely goes up to a dump now. With the Duelist, the Brawler stance is so strong, and it not only does it increase the damage you do as Duelist, but it still lets you use your weapon enchantment, and it still lets you use your weapon ability. The only downside is that your weapon abilities charge slower, but the good thing about that is Brawler stance can be instantly equipped or unequipped. So there is no turn cost associated with using Brawler stance. So I like to keep it on my hotbar. I'm walking around the dungeon, I'm looting stuff, I'm not in Brawler stance. The second I have to fight an enemy, I click that button, I go into Brawler stance, I'm doing more damage, I'm using my weapon abilities, I'm using that enchantment, and then I'm done fighting, I'm turning off that Brawler stance, if I remember. And that's gonna let my weapon abilities charge faster. Ring of Haste. Ring of Haste is definitely a build around it. Now, it does not fit neatly into the build around it tier, and it does not fit neatly into the dump now tier, but the Ring of Haste is ultra powerful. Being able to outrun most enemies in the game, if not every single enemy. You can chase down Null Trickster, you can chase down Scorpions, and they don't even have a melee attack to do anything about it. You can move yourself away from succubuses, you can get out of the way of ranged enemies like the Death Gaze or the Warlock, and it just lets you breeze past a lot of things. I would say the sweet spot for a Ring of Haste is +3, but depending on your knowledge of the game, you can get away with less probably. But +3 really lets you maneuver around almost any attack in the game. I used to put it at +6, but as I've learned more about the enemy AI and how enemies will target and follow you, +3 is a really comfortable spot. But you could definitely get away with like a +1 or +2. Ring of Haste is ultra powerful though. It's a super good ring. Nice to have tier. We got starting out with Furor. Furor, like I said, diminishing returns, because you have to put a lot of upgrades into it to really like get more than just 2 attacks from it. If you're going with the speed weapon already, it is pretty good. Obviously, speed weapons like the Sai and the Knuckle Duster. I keep saying Knuckle Duster. The Studded Glove attack twice per turn. That's great. And the Ring of Furor lets you attack 3 times per turn. But at the end of the day, those are kind of lower damage, and you have to spend upgrade scrolls on the Ring of Furor. Not super ideal. It's better to just upgrade the weapon than it is to upgrade the amount of times you can hit with that weapon. So the Ring of Furor, it's not going to make or break anyone's run. Next up, we have the Ring of Might. The Ring of Might, like I said, super good, letting you get that leather armor on instantly the second you find it, or whatever, maybe whatever tier. But I would not use the Ring of Might for its additional, damage from strength scaling or its additional healing. It's basically a stopgap solution until you find more strengths of potions, more potions of strength. But definitely something you can use for a little bit, especially if it's +1. Having those 2 extra strength points, means you can put on leather armor without drinking any strength potions. It opens up room for you to use things like the elixir of might or potion of mastery, stuff like that. But otherwise, I would say the ring of strength at the end of the day is mostly just a stopgap solution for getting things equipped earlier, and then it's an easy transmute later on. Ring of Wealth, we just ended on Ring of Wealth, so I won't spend too much time on it. But the Ring of Wealth, I think, is pretty good for the Ring of Wealth is pretty good for getting extra drops and for solving the gold economy issue. I think that gold, the gold alone from it is pretty good. The Ring of Wealth farm obviously is its own separate thing, and I'm not going to really take that into account because obviously the Ring of Wealth would be a dump now every single time if you're going to do a Ring of Wealth farm every single time. There are a lot of situations where, you know, you've already spent other upgrade scrolls other places and it's not really worth upgrading. But you know, it gives you extra money, it gives you extra energy, extra scrolls, extra potions, things that would not drop from enemies otherwise, and I think that's very helpful. All right, slot fillers. Slot fillers, these are things that you would probably rather replace with another artifact or literally any ring above it, but the Ring of Accuracy and Evasion are kind of the same thing, but in reverse. I would say the Ring of Accuracy is a little bit better than the Ring of Evasion, because at the end of the day, the Ring of Evasion still requires you to take damage to get the bonus out of it. Not necessarily take damage, but to be attacked by enemies. Now, the Ring of Accuracy, you are the one doing the attacking, and that helps to know, you know, it's more peace of mind knowing that your attack is more likely to hit and land. But yeah, so the Ring of Accuracy, Ring of Evasion, both just slot fillers. I would not build around these. I would not, you know, I would not be happy if the Imp gave me these as a quest reward. So the Ring of Accuracy, Ring of Evasion, kind of garbage. And now the Don't Bother tier. Now these are the two defensive rings. Like I said earlier, there has to be crappy rings to balance out the really good rings. If these bottom four rings weren't in the game, then every single ring you find would be like OP. It'd be super great. So Ring of Elements, a little bit better late game, but honestly, it's not going to be make or break on any run ever. Taking less damage from magical attacks is fine, but what are you going to do when an enemy physically attacks you? It's not going to help. Same goes for the Ring of Tenacity. It requires you to get hit to get any effectiveness out of it. And honestly, getting hit when you're low health, you don't want to be doing that anyway. But it can keep you alive in the early game, especially if you're using something like Warrior and you're doing Hearty Meal. Hearty Meal is a talent for Warrior. When you eat at 33% or below health, then it will heal you. So having that extra safety net of the Ring of Tenacity, you know, when you were letting your health drop really low, so that you can get the benefit of the Hearty Meal, it can be okay. But the Ring of Tenacity at this point is just a meme. Anyone who tells you it's good is probably dumb, or they're just kidding. But yeah, these two rings kind of not bother. So if you guys feel like I missed anything in this thing, that's what it's all about. It's about learning. I'm still learning the game myself. I feel like I have a couple hundred hours in this game. I've gotten every achievement in this game. We play this game 5 days a week, so I think as far as like a low challenge perspective goes, I pretty much know what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to give too many opinions. I'm trying to be more factual about this stuff. But if you think that I missed anything or you disagree, please do let me know in the comments. This is not the only video on rings that I'm going to make. I'm hoping that in a year's time or whenever, I can go back and look at this video and cringe because I'm like, oh, how can I be so dumb? You know what I mean? And eventually we will make a 9 challenge version of this. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree, share tips. That's the best way to learn things about this game, is just by talking to other people about it, and I hope to build a community. Speaking of building a community, we have a Discord. Link in the description, you can join. We have the nicest Shattered Pixel Dungeon community on the internet, down in my Discord. It's a lot of fun. You can get sneak peeks of the videos I'm working on. I edit videos in there. We do a lot of fun stuff, so come hang out with us in the Discord and keep up with what's going on. And I appreciate you guys for making it to the end of the video. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. That helps me out so much. Check to see if you're subscribed. I might show up in your feed all the time, and you think you're subscribed, but you might not be. So go ahead and get subscribed. We have memberships available on the channel. That's the best way to support me and making Shattered Pixel Dungeon content. I want this to be the definitive YouTube channel for Shattered Pixel Dungeon content on YouTube. So I appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video, and yeah, all right, thank you so much, and without further ado, bye bye.